Good morning. It's Tuesday, May 31, and thank you for joining another episode of Coffee with Amy and Kevin. So grab your coffee or whatever bev you're enjoying this morning, because today we are talking about preparation. We talk about preparation a lot in real estate. There are the events we prepare for, such as listing presentations, buyer presentations, planning offers, preparing for negotiations. We chat about the right tech and tools to use, and we also talk about dialogues and everyone's favorite, role playing. But today we're going to talk about preparation at a higher level, preparing for a market shift. Many of you are coming off of a record year last year in 2021, driven by your hard work, but also really driven by the pandemic and market trends. You've seen the headlines, and hopefully you've looked at the stats in your market, particularly when it comes to price appreciation. Noting the market trend lines, it really is hard to imagine that this pace of appreciation will continue. In some markets, we've already seen and felt the market slowing. So I'm not talking doom and gloom here, but there has to be a realization that a market shift is coming. If you were in the business in 2006, 2007, 2008, you know what a shift looks like. Whether you were selling real estate at the time or not, there is a lot to learn from that market shift and how it caught many of us off guard, but also how so many of us thrived and grew our business during the worst downturn in history. So today we want to share 3 ways you can be prepared for any market shift. First, handle your database. I'm reminded of an agent who in the early and mid 2000s was really crushing it, working with developers, flippers, investors, and her own database of relationships. I'm using database loosely here, you'll see. Business was coming faster than she could manage, but fast forward to 2010, the market had turned and her business went through the ringer. Her volume went from just over 30 million to about 3 million in a 2-year period. When I met with her, it turned out she didn't have a database of relationships. She didn't have a list, written or electronic, of anyone she had worked with over the previous 10 years. So even if you're new in the business, it probably sounds like this is on repeat. Every training, video, workshop harps on your database. Maybe it sounds like noise, but the reality is that an organized database is your biggest asset. You have to know who to contact, how to contact them, where they live, knowing personal details so you can foster a relationship. And we know that relationships are key to our business thriving. Technology, of course, has made it easier for us to manage our databases, especially with integrated systems like Platform, here at Properties Christie's International Real Estate. Still, that tech isn't able to give us all of the details we need to maintain and grow those relationships. So invest time in your database now. Ensure you have relationships ranked when it comes to likelihood to refer you, using A, B, C, and D. And it's not a ranking of whether they will work with you or whether they're buying or selling this year. It's really ranking your people as to how likely they are to refer you, whether they have been or have the potential to, if you were to reach out with them more. This helps guide your time, your efforts, your money, as you invest in those relationships to grow your business. Don't ignore the C's, but it does mean that you do focus on the A's and B's. The second way we suggest you prepare is through more flow. Flow is the term ninja selling uses to describe relationship outreach. Last year, business may have been so hectic, so transactional that proactive, intentional flow had stopped. And maybe this year you feel paralyzed with the lack of inventory or looming headlines, who knows. But you have to break through this. And it is a numbers game. When there are fewer referrals and transactions to be had, the only way to continue to grow your business is through ramping up your flow with your people. It's the same as any time you want to grow your business. More value-based outreach equals more relationships, staying top of mind, and that equals more referrals. So we suggest starting using a system. Start small. You don't need to set a goal of reaching out to 10 people a day if you haven't reached out to anyone in 18 months. You can start with proactively reaching out to maybe 2 people a day, minding the rankings we talked about earlier. So follow the Ninja Selling Program or maybe another program called the 32 Touch System. Either way, start now with systematic personal outreach. And I know when we say systematic, sometimes we shy away. It sounds impersonal. It's not that at all. Systematize the number of people you will reach out to, but reach out in a personal way to connect. Review your A's and B's weekly. It will ensure that they stay at the top of your mind and you will be at the top of theirs. And third, and lastly, prepare yourself financially. It may have felt like last year you were rolling in commission checks. It's a great feeling, right? However, as an industry, we are notorious for ramping up our spending and cost of living at the same rate as our income. The danger is that the market fluctuates, but our fixed cost of living is much harder to adjust later. So let's go back to the agent I talked about earlier. By 2012, she had sold all of her cars, 2 second home properties, and was going through a short sale on her primary residence. Cautionary tale. Had she maintained a database of relationships and reached out, the ending may be different, but really either way, it would have been less dramatic if her spending had not hockey sticked at the same rate as her income. We need to be mindful of where we're spending our money. I'm not talking about drawing down on marketing or the exposure you create for your business. In fact, I would suggest the opposite, to double down on that marketing and exposure. That's an investment in your growth. We're suggesting eliminating the frivolous doodads in our lives. Robert Kiyosaki, businessman, author, labeled the items that are liabilities that take your money without providing value. They can be cars, watches, clothes, shoes, shopping, much more. It's not wrong to buy these things called doodads. It may be a way to reward yourself. But buying those doodads with the money you need to save and invest will lead you to financial trouble later. So take some time now to review your financial situation. Buckle down on that spending. It's easy to pretend and tell ourselves that it will all be okay and we'll figure it out later. But let's put ourselves in a position where if the market does shift, you don't have to figure it out. We're not predicting a 2008 repeat. We're not predicting a market crash, but rational thought, analysis, and history tells us that there is likely a shift coming. It's much better to be prepared to face that shift with confidence and the resources, tools, and habits that will allow you to maintain and even grow your business. So thanks so much for watching this week, and I do have 2 requests before we sign off. First, please follow us on Instagram and subscribe to us on YouTube. You'll see some behind the scenes, but also other content is coming that you're not going to find with our weekly coffee episode. And second, if there's an agent you know that needs to see this, please share this episode with them. We're grateful for each of you, and we'll see you next week, but until then, you've got this.